All right. So Brock Jolly, premier trailer sales based in Fayetteville, Arkansas, what we would call one of Diamond C's rising star dealerships.
Thank you.
Yeah. High praise or no?
I'll take it. Yes, I will take it.
So tell us just tell us a little bit about kind of where is where's Premier, kind of how did it come about, what you're about.
Sure. Yeah. So it's sort of an interesting story. I was working in the transportation industry, maybe 2018 or so, and living in Northwest Arkansas. I've always kind of had a fascination with trailers and equipment and that sort of thing. And I remember, if you back up to about 2010, maybe 11 years ago, there was a guy on the other side of town. He stuck a trailer out there on an unfinished lot, and then I went back a week later and he had 2 trailers, and then a couple weeks later he had 4 trailers, and so on and so on. And it always kind of stuck with me. So here in 2018, I was kind of in between corporate gigs, if you will, and not exactly loving what I was doing. It wasn't really filling my soul on a day-to-day basis. So I was looking for something else. And I have a good friend, Travis, who we started speaking about the possibility of maybe starting to sell some trailers or have a trailer dealership, and I came across these Diamond C trailers, and it was apparent immediately that there was a better product there than what was offered on the market. And that's before the rest of the Diamond C story. That was where it all started. And so we put our first, and then I got in touch with you. This was probably 2019, and we put our first trailers out there on the lot February of 2020. I remember it to this day. It was super exciting, and I had no idea what the next 2 years would have in store. But I've loved every minute of it. So that's not a ton about where we are right now, but that was a story leading up to it. I think that we've come a long way. There's been some exciting developments in the past, especially the past year. But really, we pride ourselves on hard work and integrity where we're at, and trying to have a lasting relationship with every customer. So,
Sure.
So that's kind of the general view, I guess. There.
Sure. So was this your first business venture, like out on your own? Just I'm going to do this thing. Was this kind of the first time you've ever done something like that?
It was.
Yeah.
Very first time.
So talk about that for a minute. Just kind of I'm done with the corporate gig thing, and I'm going to go do this. What because part of what I want to do in this series or this podcast is, you're a trailer dealer, one of our customers, and that's just the situation at hand, but. Almost inspiring, like entrepreneurial spirit, right? And like it could be opening whatever, and not just a trailer dealership. So just kind of talking toward that, going out on your own and taking that leap, and talk toward that just a little bit.
Sure, man. It was one of the scariest things that I have done. There's so much uncertainty, and I think that's part of what makes you better while you do it is that uncertainty and your ability to start to overcome more and more and more of that. But did I have any real idea that this was going to work for sure? No. But once you start to get into it and you start, and there was plenty of times where I tried to talk myself out of it before I went, and I was doing everything I can to chicken out. But, once you get going and you get a little bit of momentum and a little bit under your belt, you start to get a little bit better at whether it's your decision-making processes or maybe what you feel comfortable with or the right fits, and you start to kind of narrow those decisions. And so every day has been a learning experience. I mean, every single day. And that truthfully is probably my favorite part out of it. Maybe some of the skill sets that I've gained in the last couple of years, I think, are invaluable. So that's one of my favorite parts about this.
Yeah, I remember early on, you mentioned Travis, the friend that's working with you, and he was, we need this, and we need this, and we need this trailer. Let's order this, and let's order this. And Brock's like, whoa, like let's just think about what we're gonna do. And he's like, I get it, but we need to make sure that we're dotting I's and crossing T's. And Travis is just more willy nilly, if you will. But but let's go for gusto.
Man, I needed that though too,
Yeah.
because I would have been far too conservative, and I really wouldn't have been able to push, to where we're going now. And so
Everybody needs a Travis.
That's right. that's exactly right.
That's what it's similar, just the dynamic here with, my brother, we do the Clifton Strengths, and his number one is activator, which means let's push the button. We're going to launch the plane. We're not sure how we're going to land, but let's go. Mm-hmm. And so there's a few of us around that are a little bit more conservative. So it takes the balance, when you're building a business to mold it and for it to be, stable, sustainable, all those, but you need some of all, right?
Right. So, right. Absolutely.
Definitely. So here we are, you are, let's see, I guess technically, almost 2 years in the business. COVID hit right after you started. So you said you got those trailers in February of 20. COVID hits March. How does that affect startup business, and just kind of speak to the COVID piece of starting up?
Yeah, sure, man. It was scary. I remember, speaking of uncertainty, there were businesses, in particular some restaurants, that were surrounding me, and I mean, within a matter of months, they were facing so many restrictions that they quite literally had to close their doors. And I'm watching this, and I feel like I was pretty fortunate. I was pretty insulated in that I was there by myself. I was only in charge of me, and that was probably a blessing there at that time. And so, and there was the obvious effects that we had that I'm sure I know Diamond C felt probably more firsthand than I did, with supply chain issues and things like that. I think overall customers were dealing with this same kind of backlog on anything, but equipment in particular. So most of them were pretty understanding, and still are, because I think we're still feeling a little bit of it here. And so, and then on the other hand, as you know, I think you mentioned earlier when we were talking for the podcast, the COVID push, if you will. A lot of guys, and it's a working theory, I haven't quite narrowed it down, but I think some guys kind of same thing, spend a little bit of time outside of the office from what they were doing on a 9 to 5 every single day in a similar situation to what I was in, and maybe realized, hey, I can go out and maybe I can do a little bit of landscaping, or I can do some land clearing, or maybe I want to hot shot for a living here. And so those things combined, I think, increased demand, at least where I was sitting. And so those kinds of, it was motivating. So yeah, it was scary. It was full of twists and turns. It taught me to stay on my toes, and but that's, and like I said, I don't feel like we're completely through it yet, but it was an interesting ride.
Yeah, you go from, like you said, watching other businesses kind of shutter and thinking, how does this going to affect me? And then all of a sudden it's full bore, like flip of the switch. Like I need more trailers. I need them now. I need them yesterday.
Right.
And so of course we felt that, across the country for the most part.
Yep.
That we've been in this trailer craze almost, for, was it 18 months? 18 months, I guess it's been, that the trailer craze has hit. It's been interesting. The industry has never seen anything like it, as far as demand, and maybe it never will again, to this degree of a swing. But anyway, so
yep. If
you had a piece of advice, for anyone starting a business or starting, the trailer business, what would you say? That whole kind of entrepreneurial endeavor we were talking about a few minutes ago. What do you think?
I would say there's, my mother taught me this, and integrity is such a huge thing. I think you have to, it's sometimes you're tempted so many times to maybe take a shortcut on things, but if you can stick to who you are and do what you say you're going to do, for whether, in this business, it kind of translates to customer service and having, lasting relationships with these customers, and making sure that I'm doing everything that I can to make their experience the best that it possibly can be. For me, that was most important. And if I would be able to give myself some advice going back, I would remind myself of that exactly, I think.
Sure. Like that honest road sometimes is a good bit slower than when you see those opportunities to do something different. But most often it pays off. I mean, long term, just kind of sitting back, knowing you're doing the right thing will pay off long term.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's no stress involved. So
You don't have to think back and
Right.
man, if I would have only been, it just, yeah. And it's one of those things like the more you do it, like kind of like, the habits, it's a good habit. So the more you do it, the less you'll even contemplate, right?
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Cool. So actually, Premier Traders in your first full year, COVID year, all the craziness, you were Diamond C's Rookie of the Year, in which, we award to first full year dealerships. And there's not really like a particular threshold, but it's just, from startup, A to Z through the first year, how did you perform, how the regard you were held in here, with service and with parts and everything. It's kind of just all balled up. Premier was Rookie of the Year. I mean, I don't know. Just I was curious at your thoughts about that.
Man, so that was an honor. That's the best way to put it. It was, for me, one of the coolest moments. I received, I received a envelope, and it was heavy, and I didn't know what it was, and I put it on the side. I didn't open it for like a day or two, and when I did open that, I sat there for a second and started to digest everything that had been going on. And, when you're starting a business and running a business, at least what I was doing, I had my head down most of the time, and I was going, and you're not looking for a pat on the back, if you will. Your rewards come in other ways, whether it's flexibility of schedule or if you receive financial compensation, whatever it may be. But it let me know that we were on the right track. It was encouraging, reassuring that maybe what we were doing was we were on the right track, I think. And so, I think that I would hope to think that some of that, like I touched on earlier, Diamond C and Scott Wozniak, they talk about raving fans, and that was a concept that I grasped almost immediately. I understood the benefit of having your customer be your best advertisement, if you will. So I've made it an effort in every interaction that I have to make sure that it's a valuable interaction for the customer, and also hopefully one that they'll take with them and maybe share with their friends, family. And so over time, maybe it won't be tomorrow or the next day, but that's been super important for us. And so I hope to think that maybe that helped us in achieving that Rookie of the Year there.
Yeah, for sure. And just to be clear for our listeners, that's not something that we advertise or we tell you, hey, your first year dealer, like you can get this award. Like we just don't even say anything. And so it's completely on, you had no idea, you were just doing you.
Right.
And that's what got the award. So nothing that we did, and is not for attention for us, right? It's just the fact that you guys, just doing you, and like you said, putting out that best foot forward and that integrity, and then also raving fan customer service, that kind of stuff. That's what made the difference and helped you elevate your game to achieve that award. And so that was pretty cool, and it was an honor for us. And it was like, man, from the beginning, where our first conversations, knowing the area of opportunity up there, and then you just saying, hey, if you trust us to go do it, we're going to do good things. And then to see that first year just explode was an honor for us as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Well,
really
I
cool.
appreciate you saying that. It's nice to hear a little bit of your side. We hadn't really got a chance to speak about that, but it has been something that I've been thinking about, and I feel super fortunate to hold on to. I immediately hung that up there in the office. Yeah. I'll have that forever.
Sure.
So
cool. So talking a little bit more about 22, and what your viewpoint is and strategy for 22, and what do you think about 2022?
So, I don't think it's a secret. I think most people probably that would be listening to this are probably somewhat involved in this industry and understand how high demand was in 2021. So, for me, marketing wasn't a huge priority. I was I was fortunate that people were calling my phone all hours of the day looking for trailers or parts or whatever it may be. I think I've started to feel things sort of stabilize a little bit. Our inventory's starting to catch up, and these are all good things. I think we're getting back to where we should be as a dealership, to be able to have some inventory on the lot and then be able to offer some options to people. So I have a focus on, I think maybe the first year we just kind of cast a broad net, and we just wanted to catch anyone we could, whether they were in Oklahoma City or Missouri or wherever it may be. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I just think, as broad as it was, it maybe we missed some things. So I'm excited about it. I brought my wife on. She's my new marketing manager. She's taken over that job, and it's something that she is really good at. From the photography to the social media to just coming up with a plan and executing it. So I think now we're going to start on a much more local level. I want the beginning of this year. I want people to have an awareness that we are there, and just with the conversations that I have on the weekend, or with different people, I just try to get as much info as I can. And I don't know that many people know that we're there yet. You can Google trailers if you're looking for one that day, and yeah, we'll come up, and maybe we'll get a call. But so we there's going to be an emphasis on our Facebook and our Instagram. I think we've got a pretty cool idea with. We're going to do some TikToks, I guess, and not focused on a sales side, but more focused on like a how-to side. So whether it's how do you pack a bearing, or how do you adjust a brake, or little things like that. I think that might be worthwhile. And then finally, I haven't even told you this yet, but when I go back, I think Thursday of this week, I'll be we're going to be shooting a commercial for just local television ads that'll play during basketball games or morning news or evening news. And I think it's probably a good way to try to at least put our name in some people's heads, whether, maybe they don't need a trailer right now, but hopefully they'll remember us when they do. And so that, combined with a little bit of radio advertising, I think is going to be important for us in 2022.
Yeah. Just, I think, reverting back to it being more of a, not just the industry thing. It's kind of any small, medium-sized business. They're going to need to regroup their thoughts and kind of re-gear back towards, okay, reality is we're going to have to invest back into marketing. We're going to have to change our mindset, because they grew a lot in 18 months, and nobody wants to go backwards, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that what you're speaking of is very smart strategic moves that are going to need to be done, not just in trailer dealership, but in many other areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I agree with you completely. So,
yeah. So looking at kind of at your lineup, just curious a question. What's the favorite models that you sell today?
Man, this is such a tough question. This really is.
Out of everything we've talked about, and this is the tough one.
I'm kind of a nerd. Like, I get so excited. I get so excited about them. And I think people feel that. But so I'm going to say my favorite models. I'll tell you why, but my favorite models are going to be the GVWR upgrades, like an LPX 208 or 210. I like an LPT, like 208 or 210, same thing. And then, of course, I like the FMAX series. So the LPX is for me, and the same thing with HDT, but you see it more with the ramps. I'll have customers that'll come in, and they've been in the business. They've been doing this for a while. Maybe they haul the same 13,000 pound piece of equipment every day, or their guys do, or whatever it may be. And what they'll do, it happens over and over again, and I love it. So they'll come in, and they'll have a trailer that has a C-channel stacked on top of C-channel type frame, just the old school that you've seen that forever. And then when they get to looking at these LPXs, and you start at the front and you see a 20K flat mount coupler, and then you go to the engineered beam, and then they see the HDV tongue lid, and then they see the 17 and a half wheels, and then they see the 16 ply tires, and then you see the Valcrum aluminum caps, and then you get the HD flip knee ramps. It's like an eye-opening experience for people. They didn't realize that there was so much room for improvement with these trailers, and so it's cool to be a part of that.
It's just a trailer, though, right?
Yes.
How many times have you heard?
Yeah. No, I try to push back on that a little bit because I disagree, but yeah, I know what you mean. And then the LPT 208 and 210s. I think there's a lot of guys. I love those because. Just use an example, whether you're in like the construction business or concrete, guys that really, really use a dump trailer to make a living. I think that there's such difference in what was offered out there and what is now that when they get to put these things to work, I love getting feedback about how much they love these trailers, these dump trailers specifically, based on, we've all heard the stories that, that they'll have to hire 3 or 4 guys to be pulling, material out of the back of their dump trailer that wasn't loaded above payload. Whether it was or it wasn't,
we'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know.
Yeah.
But so I've had really good luck and feedback with those, and I'm super passionate about those. I love the design and the build of them. And then the F Maxes, I think they're probably the most fun just because of the variety of options that you can go with. And I love to see guys that have a really thought out build. Maybe you spend a little bit extra time on the front end, and I'll say, hey, well, why'd you decide to do this? Or what do you think about this? And then they'll tell me, and we'll get to really understand what they're going to be using the trailer for. And it makes for a really fun process when they receive it, because, every option is just as they wanted it. I had a guy the other day. It was the first time that I'd seen this. I'm sure many people have done it, but he had a slide track, put on both sides of the trailer, and his reasoning was, whenever the tightening of freight, it always is tighter on one side and looser on the other. So I thought that was a pretty cool option, and when you see these people, maybe they're loading at night and they have some rear facing lights, or if they've had some back problems, they put a shocker hitch on it. All these things combined, and the ability to do all of these things, it's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, it's a kind of a buffet. Yeah. You kind of get what feels good for the day, what feels good, what's going to work for you, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, and get to see people not just accept what's there. And that's been kind of our what we've keyed on, is wanting to be able to offer, a build your own, to where that it's not, I guess because we saw for so many years that customers just didn't know any different, right? They just were product of the market, what was available, what was on. And so, through videos and things, I've always said, told customers, make sure it's the one for you. That availability is there. You don't have to just accept what's on a dealer's lot in the moment if you've got time. There's, obviously some circumstance where they're going to buy what's available, but it's just a different time.
Yep.
So it's proved to work pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I take those calls, every once in a while, and when I start mentioning some of these things that are available, it people that may probably otherwise wouldn't want to get on a website and start looking, they do, and then they're really excited about what they find. So I think that's a cool part too. Sure. It's a good point.
So looking at, we talked about market strategy for 22, but beyond that, kind of what's in store for Premier? What is, if you're, what are your visions and your thinking if you fast forward 3 years, 5 years, what do you want for Premier Trailers?
Sure. Yeah. I want, I'm been pretty relentless about growth, but doing it at the right speed, I think. And so there's been, some decisions we've had to make and some options that we've either accepted or declined. But I would like to see us as, the standout dealership in Northwest Arkansas, where a one-stop shop where you can come, anything that you may want or need, you're getting a fair value, you're getting a quality product, you're going to get service behind what you have. So, just when I started making plans for a year and 2 years out, and I saw how far we actually came in those years, I understood that probably I need to start
speed
planning.
It up.
Yeah, I need to start planning a little bit.
That was 3 years. Now we're at 1 year.
Yeah, I need to plan a little further in advance, I guess, in the event that we stay on track with what we're doing. So, I want to stick to who we are, but it would be nice to have. I'm the one. It'd be nice to have a team around me, more of a team, a developmental team. I think the first step in that was, again, bringing on my wife, but even some guys maybe that would help me in the unload process, because that's you can do it. There's only so many wheels and tires you feel like lifting up. Eventually something's got to give. So all of these areas I hope to grow and keep learning with.
Sure.
I would say.
Cool. All right, so we're going to enter into a few lightning round questions here at the end.
All right.
These are the ones that you didn't get.
Oh, boy.
Nothing crazy.
Okay.
So Number one, who is your hero and why? Can be personal, can be a celebrity, can be whoever, but
Sure, I have a few. I'm gonna go with my mother on this one. And so I don't know if you knew this or not, but she's from the very beginning. Uh, just looking at it from a business standpoint, she has taken over. She started helping me with my books from the beginning. She's taken on that endeavor. I don't think she knew what she was getting into when she started,
yeah,
and she's done a great. I wouldn't. There's no way I would be where I am without having her help there. And then on a personal level too, just the amount that she does for us and me and our family. I'm gonna go ahead and go with her on that one.
awesome. Just nothing matches mother's wisdom, right?
Right. That's right.
100%. So next one's talking or texting.
Talking.
Talk.
Yeah. I'm old school. I just can't ever quite. I don't ever feel like I convey emotions very well in a text message, or vice versa. I can't ever quite read it. So if I have a choice whether to pick up the phone or text, I'm gonna call.
Oh, you're gonna call.
Yeah.
I got you. What is your theme song? Don't hold back.
Oh man, golly, what is my theme song these days?
It's that one you can find yourself you may go 3 months, but whenever you put it on in the truck, you're like, that's my jam.
Golly, that is a tough question. I believe it or not, I drive an old truck back and forth to work, and the AM/FM radio barely even works. I generally I have a moment. I don't even listen to that much music. I know that's a terrible answer. I'll listen to a podcast occasionally.
Well, that's good. Let's go with that. Who's your podcast host?
Who's the podcast? Recently, so I have a kind of a broad net. There's a Barstool Sports does a podcast called Pardon My Take, where they talk. It keeps me up with NFL football games. And then there's also a guy that I really like, Clay Newcomb. He's out of West Fork, Arkansas, which is where I live, and he's just a kind of a really articulate guy, and he speaks about some of the folklore in the Ozarks, and that's been really interesting to me lately. So I'll go with him.
That sounds cool. Kind of an escape almost.
Yeah.
That's cool. Get into it. And then lastly, bucket list. What's high on the bucket list for Brock?
High on the bucket list. So I really want to get the kids traveling a little bit. I'd love to take them. We've been wanting to go to Disneyland, Disney World type of deal. So that's in the near future, but that would be something that I aim to do for them. And then same thing with my wife. It'd be nice to be able to get away for a couple of days and take a vacation. And it's simple things like that. I think long-term bucket list. It sounds cliche, but I don't know how to define it necessarily, but I just want to make sure I do everything I can now to give my kids every opportunity in the future to have, what I had growing up and even what I didn't have growing up. So a sense of providing, I guess, would be on there too.
I got you. Cool. Well, man, that wraps it up. I sure appreciate you taking the time. I know it's a little different, coming out for the podcast, but I appreciate it. You gave some great perspective, on that entrepreneurial kind of startup and what it was like. And so, we appreciate you as a customer too. You guys are doing a phenomenal job.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm generally more of like a behind the scenes type of guy,
Yeah.
It was important for me to come and kind of be pushed out of my comfort zone. And I think that's how you continue to grow. So thank you as well. And thank you for everything that you do.
You got it, man.